So the other day I read this very interesting article. Somewhere in Siberia, I guess, I hope everyone knows where Siberia is here. They treat addictions by beating people. Like literally beating with a cane. And they use the branches of a willow tree. Why? Because it doesn't crack the skin, hurts like hell. And gets a message across. So, at first I thought it was a joke. But, you know, I read the article, and these are fully accredited professors, a couple, professors of psychology. And they've been doing this for some years now with great success. Their first patients were people who were completely desperate. People who tried everything and anything and it didn't work. Usually people with very gross addictions like drug addictions or alcohol addictions. Even one workaholic. That's one I don't have an issue with. People who were desperate, who tried everything before and nothing worked. People who tried so many different things, all professional, fully accredited courses and systems. So when they reached the bottom, they thought, well, you know, I don't want to die. You know, I'll try anything. I'll try even this crazy thing. So what they do, they go into their therapy, which lasts for 3 months. They go twice a week for 3 months. And then first there's psychological and physiological evaluation. Then they have a discussion. And then they beat them. And there are images, they show images of people holding on to the bed and holding on to the bed, and you can see on their faces, I mean, they're experiencing excruciating pain. And all of the patients report that it works. It's an interesting thing. But they all say that when they get the first beating, not all, but most of them, when they get hit for the first time, it cracks their mind. The pain is so excruciating, and they beat them on their backside, the buttocks. Some even become angry. Some swear and threaten. The pain is so nasty. And people, for example, with alcohol addictions or cigarette addictions, they get 30 lashes. And people with heavy addictions, like one girl, 20-some-year-old girl, who was there for heavy heroin addiction, whose boyfriend passed away due to an overdose, and many of her friends, and she was on the way there too. And she gets 60. And you know, this big tough guy says that, you know, when he got hit for the first time, he didn't think he would manage to take 30. And they all say that it takes few days before they're able to sit normally down on the chair. So it's an extreme treatment. And of course you can imagine stirred up a lot of controversy here, there, and all over the place. But interestingly enough, more and more people are taking too. And taking the treatment. So, is that Rohini playing music? And even some celebrities, you know, mostly people go there anonymously. They don't want. It's kind of embarrassing. You go somewhere and you get beat. But anyhow, they also show how chemically it actually helps the body, blah, blah, blah. Anyhow, I'm not here to advocate beating. I'm not planning to open up a clinic. But one thing, and the other interesting thing they said was that they didn't invent anything new. They just went to some old techniques that many people before used. Because you see, first thing when I read this, I was reminded of a thing once I gave a seminar on addiction. And the thing with any sort of addiction is that the person is never really addicted to an object, whatever the object might be, an electronic item, or drugs, or alcohol, or whatever it is. Person is never addicted to the object. Person is addicted to the emotional experience that person associates with the object, or with a particular situation, and on and on and on. And they simply want to, by recreating the physical circumstances, such as whatever, injecting drugs or getting in touch with a phone so you can like press buttons or whatnot, you're simply trying to recreate the emotional experience. So that is the addiction. And if you manage to associate different type of emotional experience with that event, then you have overcome addiction. For example, for alcohol treatment, in some countries, I'm not sure if they do it here, but they implant something into your body somewhere, I forget where. But the thing makes you nauseous every time you drink alcohol. So you drink alcohol and you vomit. It's kind of a brutal treatment. Anyhow, so again, I'm not here to advocate brutal treatments. I'm a monk, a peaceful guy. But what brought this to my mind is that every education, whether you're talking about addictions or any type of education, even a basic intellectual education, even if you're studying economics, every education uses a system of pain and pleasure. So pain and pleasure, they have the universal purposes, and one of them is education. For example, let's say you go to study economics, and if you give the right answer, what do you get? You get a good grade. That's reward. And if you give what they consider a wrong answer, you get a bad grade. So that's a system of reward and punishment, pleasure and pain. And in this way you learn. As a matter of fact, there is no other way to learn. This is the only way by which we get to learn anything. When my father had a dog, he would try to teach the dog things. And then, when the dog did what the father wanted him to do, he would reward him. And when he didn't, he would take a newspaper and hit him over the head. It was like a rollover, so he just make noise, it wouldn't hurt. So the dog would, So whatever it is what about relationships? The girl doesn't like what the boy does, and she, makes a face. That's punishment. In other words, she has to have a way of communicating that, hey, dude, what you're doing, I don't approve of, okay? And if we did not have a way of communicating good from bad, what a situation would we be in? So therefore, pain and pleasure, they have a function. And every single system of education administers it, pain and pleasure. Now, every society, every group of people since the dawn of creation have agreed on this. The only point of disagreement or any place for discussion in all of this is how much pain or how much pleasure administration of is acceptable. So in other words, these guys in Russia, in Siberia particularly, they push the boundaries from the modern social norms kind of far. But they still follow the same principle. So that's exactly how life works. Works on the very same principle, pleasure and pain, to educate. Because there is no other way to learn. There's no other way to communicate good and bad. And when I say good and bad, I speak in general terms. So people may use different terms like moral, immoral, lawful, unlawful, right, not right, but basically that's what it is, good or bad. And always it boils down to whether this is objectively good experience or is it a bad experience. Is it a pleasing experience or it's not a pleasing experience. So if it's a pleasing experience, people reward it. And if it's not, people punish it. Every society does this. Every society does this. If you're a good worker, they'll give you, if you produce enough money, they'll give you, what do they call it, a raise. They may give you an extra day of vacation or something like that. And if you're not a good worker, they'll just tell you, sorry, go get a job somewhere else, like that. Mom, dad, everyone does this. So life does very much the same thing. And those who are sensitive to it, they can actually get to learn lots from life, simply by detecting this pain and pleasure. Of course, things get a little more complicated because often, like in the case of addiction of these people who submitted to this clinic, things which initially appear to be pleasing and good, they as well may end up not being pleasing, not being good, and this is where the difficulty may arise. Because in the long run, sometimes it's hard to tell what ultimately a situation, a decision, or a path may bring. But still, nevertheless, the principle is the same. There's the pain and there's pleasure. There's reward and there's punishment. And basically wisdom just means the ability to see far ahead and therefore tell whether this path, this activity, or this decision is leading to a pleasant or unpleasant situation. That's it. And people with deeper insight like this get to learn more in life, or get ahead of other people, and therefore experience greater quality existence.